Today there are 5 Nordic countries: Iceland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. But the concept of the Nordics extends past those countries. It also includes other regions like the autonomous territories of the Faroe Islands and Greenland, and the autonomous region of Åland, as well as the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, and the Russian region of Karelia, Marmutsk, and this peninsula, part of which used to belong to Finland as well. Not the peninsula, just the Karelia region. So this got me thinking, what if instead of just having those 5 official Nordic countries, we were to have more? What if Greenland was independent, as well as Svalbard, maybe even the Faroe Islands and Karelia? Essentially, what if there were more Nordic countries? Let's start with Greenland. Greenland has been on the news a lot lately. Again, the US government is reinforcing its idea that they want to buy it off of Denmark. It seems insane, and it is, but the reality is that throughout history, the US have bought most of their territory. It's just that if the owner doesn't want to sell it, it doesn't make much sense to try and buy it. Plus, while Greenland is technically a part of Denmark, it's very much its own place. I mean, hey, they have their own really cool flag, although breaking the Nordic cross norm, and a super cool coat of arms of a polar bear on a blue shield. Greenland is the largest island on Earth. It's located between the Arctic and the Atlantic Oceans. Today it hosts a pretty small population of around 56,000 people, but it has been inhabited for thousands of years, primarily by Inuit people whose ancestors migrated from North America via the Arctic. In around 982 AD, Norse settlers led by Eric the Red established colonies in Greenland, which remained until they disappeared on their own in around the 15th century. These settlements coexisted with Inuit communities for centuries. After being rediscovered by European explorers later on, Greenland became a Danish colony in the 18th century, transitioning to a Danish county in 1953, and later gaining home rule in 1979, followed by self-rule in 2009. These milestones granted Greenland autonomy over most of their internal matters, such as resource management and even judicial affairs, while Denmark retains control of defense and foreign relations. Greenland's government has pursued gradual steps towards greater independence, but this process has kind of been slowed down by their desire to make sure that they would be economically sustainable in independence. Now, the hypothetical of having 3 new Nordic countries is interesting for a lot of reasons, but one of them is the languages that would be spoken in these new countries. And that is why I'm so excited that the sponsor for this video is Mondly. Mondly is one of the top 5 language learning apps with over 125 million users worldwide. And right now, Mondly is offering an exclusive time-limited offer for the new year where you can save 96% off a lifetime subscription. So you just pay once, you don't have to worry about monthly or yearly renewals that you just forget about. With Mondly, you can learn a total of 44 languages in 33 native tongues, offering a total of 1,320 language combinations. Whether you speak Spanish and want to learn English or French or less common languages like Farsi or Finnish, Mondly has you covered. You can practice real conversations with a chatbot using speech recognition for instant pronunciation feedback. And lessons are recorded by native speakers to ensure accurate accents. I could probably use the app. I mispronounce words on the channel all the time. And the app includes daily lessons, quizzes, and hands-free learning. So you can learn practical lessons about things that you will actually use in your daily life. And you can do it while working out, cooking, or even driving. So go to mondly.app/general knowledge and get 96% off lifetime access to all languages right now. But the devolving of autonomy kind of shows that they are effectively independent already. They just need to establish a foreign office, some embassies, and maybe figure out some military solution to assure their defense. Economically, they rely heavily on fishing, which accounts for most of its exports, as well as tourism, which is steadily growing due to an interest in the dramatic Arctic landscapes. Greenland also has a lot of untapped resources like rare earth minerals, elements, fossil fuels, drawing significant international attention because of that reason as well. Climate change is having a profound effect as melting ice creates new opportunities for mining and shipping, while threatening the traditional ways of life as well. The strategic location is why it's suddenly so interesting to the United States, not only due to its direct location across from Russia through the Arctic, but its important Arctic position overall. During World War II and the Cold War, Greenland had a similar geopolitical prominence, and the US even came to establish military bases there at the time. Maybe that can be a compromise right now for them wanting to buy it. Greenland has never been fully independent, but their pursuit of autonomy reflects a pretty strong mixed Inuit and Norse identity of their own, and a growing confidence in managing their future. If it was its own country, it would be the 12th largest in the world, ahead of Saudi Arabia, and just behind the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Population-wise though, it would be the 187th behind the tiny island of Bermuda. Their GDP per capita is pretty high due to the small population, the 21st in the world, but 140th in GDP, the same as the small African country of Burundi. If they join the EU and NATO upon independence, I think their economic sustainability and defense situation would be guaranteed and a stable country would continue. The only thing they would have to fix is their flag in order to keep up with the Nordic trend. Now let's move to another autonomous region of Denmark, which are the Faroe Islands. They already have a Nordic flag, a white field with a red Nordic cross bordered in blue. Their coat of arms is as cool as Greenland's, except instead of a polar bear, they have a ram. The Faroe Islands consist of 18 rugged volcanic islands in the North Atlantic Ocean, situated between Iceland, Norway, and Scotland, with a population of approximately 54,000 people, most of whom live on the largest island, Streymoy. The Faroes maintain a distinct identity rooted in their Norse heritage and the Faroese language, which is closely related to Old Norse. I mean, think about that. They basically have the same population of Greenland, but they're 155 times smaller. The island's history dates back to early Norse settlements in the 9th century, with governance passing between Norway and Denmark over time. Although generally the initial colonization is attributed to Irish monks and a specific abbot named Saint Brendan in the year of 565, so I guess Ireland could make a really wild claim for it. But anyway, most serious and continuous colonies were Norse, and following the Treaty of Kiel in 1814, they became a part of Denmark. The islands gained home rule in 1948, establishing significant autonomy in domestic affairs, including control over education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Foreign policy and defense remain under Denmark's purview, just like in Greenland's case. Efforts towards further independence have been a recurring topic in Faroese politics, but then again, just like Greenland, economic considerations, including reliance on Denmark, kind of stopped any talk of becoming independent. The Faroese economy is deeply tied to fishing and aquaculture, which account for over 90% of exports. In recent years, the islands have pursued economic diversification, including renewable energy initiatives and tourism as well. The Faroe Islands are also known for traditional practices, such as the Grindadrap, the controversial community-driven whale hunt, which kind of draws international attention for negative reasons. But their culture contrasts with that of Greenland because, as far as I know, there's no native Inuit heritage mixed in. They are purely Nordic. It would be the 171st smallest country in the world by area, 187th smallest by population. Their GDP per capita is again super high due to the small population, ranking 11th in the world. But their GDP proper would be one of the smallest worldwide, matching Andorra in the 160th place. While they don't have the potential strategic resources of Greenland, as well as their strategic position, I think they could still potentially thrive as their own country. It's more unlikely that they would succeed, but still. Denmark's development subsidies could be replaced by European Union ones if they joined it, and while Greenland may be the target of some who would want to conquer it, no offense, but I don't think anybody would want to conquer the Faroe Islands, so they wouldn't have to worry too much about having their own defense. And following those two, we move on to the even more unlikely cases that are on our list. Let's start with Karelia. Karelia is a region of Russia. It flies this flag, a horizontal triband of red, blue, and green, and it's technically a constituent republic of the Russian Federation. It has a small independence movement that flies this version of the Nordic cross, a dark field on top of which rests a black cross with a red border. Finland also has a region called North Karelia over here, which flies a super cool flag of 2 arms and swords beneath a crown, plus South Karelia, which has a similar one. In general, Karelia is a culturally and historically significant region in Northern Europe. It spans precisely these regions of eastern Finland and northwest Russia. It is renowned for its lakes, forests, and wood architecture, serving as a key cultural crossroad between the Finno-Ugric and Slavic worlds. Finnish Karelia encompasses regions like North and South Karelia, like we saw, while Russian Karelia includes the Republic of Karelia as well as the Karelian Isthmus, a region that has been contested, especially during conflicts between Sweden, Russia, and Finland. Its history is marked mostly by that role in war and shifting borders. It was a battleground during the Winter War and the Continuation War between Finland and the Soviet Union. After World War II, Finland ceded much of Karelia to the USSR, leading to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Karelians to other parts of Finland. The loss remains a point of cultural and emotional significance for many Finns and native Karelians. Upon the creation of an independent Karelia, perhaps those in exile in Finland could return, making up a true nation-state in the new country. Culturally, they have profound influence on Finnish national identity already. It is the birthplace of the Kalevala, Finland's national epic compiled from Karelian folk songs. Russian Karelia, meanwhile, is a home to a mix of Russian, still Karelian, and Vepsian populations, totaling around 600,000 people. When Karelians had to flee into Finland after the Winter War, around 400,000 did so the total population of this new hypothetical country could surpass the 1 million mark. The region's economy relies on forestry, mining, and hydroelectric power, while natural beauty kind of attracts some tourism as well. In my hypothetical country, I also added the region of Murmansk / the Kola Peninsula too, as they would be cut off from Russia in this scenario, and so it would make more sense to join Karelia. Plus, the territorial claims of the Karelian National Movement, the main independence movement, claims these territories, wishing for the restoration of Karelian independence and the creation of comfortable living conditions for the indigenous peoples, the Karelians, the Vepsians, the Pomors, and because they reach so far north, in this case, the Sami as well. With this addition, the new country's territory would be over 317,000 square kilometers, the 69th largest in the world, surpassing Poland. Population-wise, including Murmansk and the Finnish exiles, it would be around 1.2 million, one of the smallest worldwide, behind the small islands of Mauritius, for instance. The GDP per capita of the Karelian Republic within Russia is pretty low, only $10,000. I think their economy is equally small, but after becoming independent and deepening ties with other Nordic countries as well as the EU, I think their economic situation would vastly improve. And finally, we get to the last one on our list. And if you thought that Karelia was a crazy idea, wait until you hear about this one, Svalbard. Svalbard has a really fascinating rule due to its history, which is that anyone can freely move to, live, and work in the islands, regardless of their nationality. So while it has basically nobody living there, it could harbor people from all over the world and sort of be a country for all those in exile. Despite this open rule, Svalbard is a part of Norway. It's an archipelago in the Arctic Ocean located between mainland Norway and the North Pole. Its size is around 60,000 square kilometers. It would be the 123rd largest country behind Latvia but ahead of Togo. It comprises 9 main islands, with Spitsbergen being the largest. The region is governed under the 1920 Svalbard Treaty, which recognizes Norwegian sovereignty while granting citizens of all signatory nations equal rights to economic activities and residence. Those signatory nations are 48, including crazy ones like Portugal, Saudi Arabia, New Zealand, North Korea, or the Dominican Republic, which kind of have nothing to do with the region. Svalbard has a small, diverse population of around 2,500 people, centered in Longyearbyen, the capital. Historically, it was a hub for whaling in the 17th and 18th centuries, later becoming important for coal mining. While the mining has declined, their economy now focuses on tourism, scientific research, and satellite operations. Visitors are drawn to a unique Arctic environment. It's characterized by glaciers, fjords, polar bears, and the northern lights. Oh, and the global seed vault is located near the city. It's a vital repository safeguarding the world's crop diversity, and I think they have a sample of every single seed that exists. Geopolitically, their strategic Arctic location has heightened its importance in international relations. Despite the small size, it plays a big role in global discussions on the Arctic. If it were to become independent, it would most likely struggle tremendously to be self-sufficient, but starting with a super low population might help their case. After all, it would be the smallest country in the world population-wise, only ahead of the Vatican, and sure, there wouldn't be any money to pay for anything, but if you only have 2,000 people, you don't need that much infrastructure or services. So maybe they could afford to support the people that live there now and then slowly scale up as the population would grow, using its tourism as a main attractor and its important Arctic position for new shipping trade routes, for instance. It has no official flag, only a couple proposed ones, like this super cool one from 1930, reminding us almost of Bavaria, or this light blue field with the Norwegian Nordic cross. And so in this scenario, the Nordic countries number would expand from only 5 to 9. But I would be wrong to finish this video without mentioning a potential 10th Nordic country, which would actually take a little bit of territory from not only the ones that exist now, but also one of these hypothetical ones. And that would be a Sami sovereign country. The Sami people are an indigenous group inhabiting Sápmi, a cultural region spanning the areas of northern Norway, Sweden, Finland, and also Karelia. Sami governance includes distinct parliaments already in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. An independent Nordic Sami state could encompass all of this, potentially addressing cultural preservation issues, self-determination, as well as resource rights that are an issue right now. A potential country could either be very small, only up north and in their de facto living area, or much bigger and encompass all their historic territory. Historically speaking, there's not a very strong movement for the establishment of a truly independent Sápmi state, but in this hypothetical scenario, I think it's an interesting thing to consider, additionally to the other four. It's difficult to speculate how many people it would have and what their economy would be like. I would argue they would struggle even more than Svalbard in that aspect. They do, however, have a super cool flag, breaking the Nordic cross trend in a way that is similar to Greenland's. Their flag is a left-centered bicolor of red and blue with 2 vertical stripes of green and yellow along the border between the red and the blue, and around it is a circle and inverted colors as well. So those would be the additional 4 or 5 Nordic countries. What do you think about this? Do you think it's at all realistic that any of them will achieve independence? Would you like to see it happen? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Remember to check out my other videos and subscribe if you want to catch future ones. I will see you next time for more general knowledge. Am I getting sick? Maybe. My voice is a little coarse. I don't know. It's weird. I haven't recorded a video in like 2 weeks. I just had them done from before. So maybe I just forgot how to speak. Today I chose this mug, which I have shown before, but it's just a guy like hanging out in the... He's hanging out in his garden. And I chose it because the days are finally getting a little longer. And so we all have a reason to live again because it's not dark all the time. So yeah. And thank you again to Mondly for sponsoring this video. Remember, if you want to try out their services, go to mondly.app/general knowledge and you can get 96% off your lifetime subscription and access to learn all the languages you want.